Good morning. Lee brought this particular picture for me. I'm an architect, as some of you know. This was considered the greatest building of the last century. It's a church in rural France called Ronchamp, Ronchampes, which did the most amazing thing with it, with its wall, in that it was very thick. It was just concrete. But by doing all of these different kinds of windows or um, apertures, anybody sitting there could dwell on one of them. The way the light kept moving, it was never still because the sun moves. And it made it a fascinating and fabulous interior spiritual space to consider light as it moves through our lives.
Hmm. Very cool.
Yep. The consistency of means and end. We have said much about discrepancies of means and end, and how means and ends must be brought in line before your holy relationship can bring you only joy. But we have also said the means to meet the Holy Spirit's goal will come from the same source, God's love for his Son, as does the Holy Spirit's purpose come from the Father. Being so simple and direct, this course has nothing in it that is not consistent. That's quite a statement to make. The seeming inconsistencies or parts that you find more difficult than other parts are merely indications of areas where means and end are still discrepant. And this discrepancy between means and ends produces great discomfort. This discomfort, produced by the discrepancy between means and ends, which is another way of saying cause and effect, need not be. You don't have to be uncomfortable if you understand what's going on. And that's what hopefully they're going to tell us. This course requires almost nothing of you. It is impossible to imagine one course that asks so little or one course that could offer more.
The course is simple because all it asks is that we accept the truth and give up illusions. It does not require us to change our true essence, but rather remove the veils we have placed to hide our true reality, which is only love. If there is discomfort, it is due to the fact that we still value some parts of the egoic thought system. It may be that we claim to want only love, but we demand that love be a certain special way. We believe that we have a better plan for salvation than God's plan. This is the ego talking and not the Holy Spirit. It's our need to be right rather than to be happy. The need to save or to change someone is part of the ego's plan to make the separation appear real.
Sometimes we want subservience, sometimes we want to overpower somebody. It's all about learning to live with other people and to accept that they are children of God and we are children of God. And we could all play together if everybody understood that. The period of discomfort that follows the sudden change in a relationship from sin to holiness may now be almost over. To the extent you still experience this period of discomfort that follows the sudden change in a relationship from sin to holiness, you are refusing to leave the means to the Holy Spirit, who changed the purpose of the relationship. Lee, would you please follow that sentence two in? I'm going to read it again too, because that was delightful.
Oh, sure.
To the extent you still experience this period of discomfort that follows the sudden change in a relationship from sin to holiness. To that extent, you are refusing to leave the means to the Holy Spirit, who changed the purpose of the relationship. You recognize you want the Holy Spirit's goal. Are you not also willing to accept the means to the Holy Spirit's goal? If you are not willing to accept the means to the Holy Spirit's goal, let us admit that you are inconsistent. In other words, we're human.
Yeah,
A
yeah, we are.
purpose, a purpose is attained by means. If you want a purpose, you must be willing to want the means as well. How can one be sincere and say, I want this above all else, and yet I don't really want to learn the means to get it?
We must not impose our own judgments on what are appropriate means to achieve the goals of the Holy Spirit. If we accept that our goal is the reawakening of the sonship, we need to accept the experience, the means that will appear in our life. We cannot pick and choose when we will be a conduit for love and forgiveness, when we will withhold it. No, we cannot pick and choose when we will be a conduit for love and forgiveness and when we will withhold it.
Right.
It's not our decision as to what form the means must appear under. It's not our decision to offer forgiveness to one person but not another. The illusion that where the body is always the same, the form may differ, but the content is always the same. The content is always asking, will I teach fear or love? We are not the arbitrators of God's plan for salvation. Every moment is the perfect moment for us to choose love and to teach only love. All moments should be given to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. If the goal is the healing of our split mind, no moments should ever be given over to the plan of the egoic thought system.
Lee, I'm not sure why, but your video of you is off the screen. You can look at that if you want. To obtain the goal, the Holy Spirit indeed asks little of us. The Holy Spirit asks no more to give the means as well as the goal. The means are second to the goal. And when you hesitate, it is because the purpose, which is the goal, frightens you and not the means. Remember this, you are never frightened by the means, but rather only frightened by the goal. And if you forget this, you will make the error of believing the means are difficult. Yet, how can means be difficult if means are merely given you? Means guarantee the goal, and means are perfectly in line with the goal. Before we look at means a little closer, remember that if you think means are impossible, I could never do that, your wanting of the purpose has been shaken. For if a goal is possible to reach, you can highlight this sentence, the means to do so must be possible as well.
Seems logical.
Well, especially if God and the Holy Spirit's doing it. He's not going to give us a goal that we can't meet. He gives us the means.
We're always at the perfect place and moment in time. We're each on the journey of God's plan for his child, reawakening to knowledge and truth. To the traveler, it may appear that we may be going backwards, yet every step is needed to arrive at the goal. If the goal is to climb a mountain, we may traverse a series of switchback trails. It may appear that we're actually losing altitude along the trip, yet each step was ultimately in line with the goal of climbing the mountain. Without the last step, we would not be able to make the next step. ACAM warns the student not to judge his journey or his path with another. Each person is on his or her own perfect path. Nobody else could
Those
do
two
it.
sentences
but
are
them.
really good.
The Holy Spirit knows all paths will eventually lead to the top of the mountain. Only the ego needs to tell someone else that his or her path is wrong and that only the ego's path is the correct one.
Well, there you have it. Welcome to our world.
It's not the road less traveled. It's the road only traveled by you. You're the only one who can do that path.
It is possible to see your brother as sinless and yet to look upon your brother as a body. Is seeing your brother as sinless not perfectly consistent with the goal of holiness? That's hard to take sometimes. For holiness is merely the result of letting the effects of sin be lifted. So what's always true is recognized. To see a sinless body is impossible, for holiness is positive and the body is merely neutral. The body is not sinful, but neither is the body sinless. As nothing which the body is, the body cannot meaningfully be invested with attributes of Christ or of the ego. Either the attributing to the body attributes that could only belong to the Christ or the ego must be an error, for both would place the attributes where they can't be, which is the body, which actually is kind of like having an idol. That's what you do with idols. And both errors must be undone for purposes of truth.
We are the mind. We're not the body. The body is only a neutral communication device. It only follows what the mind would have it do. To place any other value on the body is to give the body powers that it does not possess. The mind, not the body, is the place where correction of stinking thinking must occur.
Oops. The body is the means by which the ego tries to make the unholy relationship seem real. The unholy instant is the time of bodies. But the ego's purpose here in the world of flesh, born of perception, is sin. Sin cannot be attained, but in illusion, oh, sin cannot be attained, but in illusion. And so the illusion of a brother as a body is quite in keeping with the purpose of unholiness, which is sin. Because of this consistency of egoic thinking, the means which claim we are a body remain unquestioned, while the end, which is that we are sinners, is cherished. Seeing adapts to wish, for sight is always secondary to desire. And if you see the body, you have chosen judgment and not vision. For vision, like relationships, has no order of difficulties. You either see or not.
It's that simple. Wow. That is a really simple way to say your judgment and your resentment are off, not true.
Mm-hmm.
The sin that the ego would have us make is arrogance. It is arrogance. Being a body proves that we have usurped the power of God. We claim that we are little and not made in God's image. The limitations we place upon the higher self, the big S self, are egoic arrogance. It claims you could be other than as God created you. This sin can only be illusionary. Seeing utilizes projection. Projection allows us to see only what we want to see. What we want to see is the confirmation of our prejudged thoughts that have projected into the universe, that we have projected into the universe. The physical senses are thought confirming devices. The eyes only verify our prejudged, pre-imagined, preordained images. Vision, on the other hand, looks past all judgments and observes only content. Is the content an expression of love or a cry for love? Vision bypasses form and observes truth. Seeing and vision are mutually exclusive.
And it's important to point out that this is by definition their use of the word seeing versus vision, because in normal life we would just say seeing and vision are the same. But what he's talking about here is seeing with the eyeballs, so to speak, and the vision that we have in our minds of what's really in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
They're quite different.
Mm. All right. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Hey, thanks for bringing up Ron Shop for me. It was a delight to see that old buddy of mine.
A delight?